welcome again. My name is Lindsay Major. I'm the head of customer experience here at the MLC. This webinar is learning how to register your new works. We did already do a couple of webinars in this series, so those will be available on our YouTube channel. Follow that. Before we hop into the content, a couple of housekeeping items. At the bottom, you will see a chat box and then also a Q&A. Please be sure to put your questions in the Q&A. We reserve the chat for helpful links and information from our team to share with you. So be sure to put your questions in the Q&A. That ensures that I see the question and that it gets answered. So with that, we will go ahead and jump in. I'll start sharing my screen again. I will answer all questions at the end. Okay, so again, this webinar is focused on registering your new works. So how to register your works, there's a couple ways you can do this within the portal. We've got the individual work registration. This is really great if you have one or a handful of songs that you need to register. So let's say you've got like 5 songs that you need to register. You can do this using our individual work registration. I will give a demo here, but that's probably the easiest way to do it. If you've got multiple, let's say a couple hundred works or something like that, your option for you is probably our bulk work upload. Again, something I will show you in the portal, but this allows you to register works in bulk. You just download our spreadsheet, fill out your information, and then you go from there. So, can everyone see my screen okay? By the way, I didn't ask. It looks like you can. I just want to make sure. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and hop into the portal and show everybody how these tools work. So when you log into your portal account, now this is a test portal account. I'm not showing you any information you shouldn't see. I'm not showing you a real member. This is just all test data fake. So when you log into the portal, you'll click View Member. On the left-hand side, you'll see our various different tools, things you can do in the portal. If you were on the last webinar, that's when we covered the claiming tool. That will be the first thing you want to do is claim your share to any works that are already registered. But we know that we have brand new works that we need to register. So that's where the individual registration tool and the bulk registration tool come into play. So like I mentioned, the bulk registration tool is really great for those of us who have maybe a couple hundred works, maybe even like 50 works, whatever it is, more than just a handful of works, more than just something that you wouldn't want to do in one by one. So if you're going to do the bulk registration, you will need to go to the bulk registration tool, click on it, and download our template. This is it's an Excel file. You can fill it out, but it's very important that you use the template we provide you so that our system can ingest it. There's all sorts of instructions on how to fill this out. There's also, again, on our YouTube channel, there's a how-to video on how this works. But if you're filling out this template and you're finding it to be a little bit difficult or you're having trouble, reach out to our support team. They're amazing. They're available Monday through Friday, phone, chat, email, and they could walk you through it. So this is how you do it. So once this template is filled out, you'll upload the file and your works have been submitted. The individual work registration tool is great for if you have one or a handful of songs that you need to register. So let's say you just wrote a song and recorded it. You just need to register that one. This was a great option for you. So the first thing you do when you're registering a new work is search for it. Again, if the work already exists in our database, you'll want to just claim your share to that. But if it's a brand new work, then you'll need to register it. So I'm going to run this search, make sure that somebody didn't already register this work. They didn't. Great. So I can go down here and click Create New Work. This is where you get an option to go through our wizard or skip right to the form. If it's your first time using this tool, I recommend using the wizard. It's a step-by-step guide. If you're like, nope, I've done this a couple of times, and you can skip right to the form, accomplishes the same thing. But again, first-time users, I recommend the wizard. So we are in, and as you can see, we've auto-populated the work title based on what you entered in your search. And then this is really the only required field on this page, but we do recommend putting as much data as you can. Just as a best practice rule of thumb, whenever you're registering your songs, it's very helpful to put all the data in that you know. It helps us in the matching process, and it just helps keep all the data clean. So again, on this is where the only required field is the work title. You are able to put in other identifiers. I recommend, if you know your ISWC, your International Standard Work Code, I recommend putting that in. That's a really important one. This member work identifier, this is just your, like, let's say you have like an identifier that you personally use for your catalog management. You can put that in here. That's what that one is. These other things are assigned, like if you registered your work with the Copyright Office, you'll have that on your paperwork. So that's just kind of what some of these identifiers are. And then alternative titles, if you hover over this tooltip here, these alternative titles should really be only used for like language variations. So that would be maybe my song was, I also have a Spanish version of my song, live variations, so obviously a live version of the song, and then remixes where the writers are the same as the song that you're registering. So you can add alternative titles if you want to, again, optional, but if you've got like a live variation, let's say, it's good to add it in there. Okay, so next is when you're adding writers. So you should add all writers that you know their information for on the work. So you just click this button, I'm a writer, and when adding writers, best practice is to definitely put the writer name and the writer IPI if you have it or if you know it. Again, the more data you can put, the better. I don't have a writer IPI, but this is me for the purposes of this song. And let's say I co-wrote this song with somebody else. You should put those writers on this work as well if you know their information, you know who they are. Then whoever is responsible for their publishing, whether it be that person or they're represented by a publisher, they can come in behind you and claim the shares that they're owed. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But if you know the writer information of any co-writers, go ahead and put it in there just to make sure that the registration is correct. You'll notice on this screen that there is no writer share. So that's a big difference between registering your works at a PRO, which is like ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and registering your works at the MLC. In digital mechanicals, which is what the MLC deals in, there's only a publisher share. There is no writer share. So if you're a 100% self-administered songwriter, let's say you're used to registering your works at your PRO, 50% publisher share, 50% writer share, how that translates to the MLC is that you have 100% publisher share. So that's the difference there. But best practice here, put all the writer information that you know. If you don't know the writer information, that's okay. Like if you co-wrote it and you don't know your co-writer's information, you can leave it blank. It's not the end of the world. Their publisher can come in behind you and claim it. But if you do know it, you should put it in. Okay, so now that we've got the writers in, this is where you select the writer role. Various different roles here, depending on what part you played in this particular song. And then this is where we talk about the publisher and the publisher share. So while you should put all the writer information that you know of in the work registration, you should only be putting in the publisher information for the shares that you control. So for my example here, I have a co-writer. Lindsay, have a co-writer. I picked Elton John. I am represented by ABCO. So ABCO would be the ones that are people who are responsible for registering my work and putting their publisher share only. Elton John's publisher needs to come in after and claim their shares. You should only be registering the publisher share for the shares that you control. So I select ABCO as my publisher in this example, and we have 50% of this work. This is the publisher share that I'm talking about. And then this is where you would link the writer to the publisher. So Lindsay Major is represented by ABCO, and that's that link. Okay, and then this is where you can add recordings, sound recordings. If you've got that information, while it is optional to add, it is important that you add it. If you do choose to add sound recordings, the required fields are the recording title and the recording artist name. But it's also very helpful to put these other data points in there. Like I said, best practice is to put as much data into the work registration as you can. So ISRC is the International Standard Recording Code. The label you may be released it on, all the good stuff. For this example, I'm going to leave this blank, but if you do know your recordings, definitely put it on there. It helps us in the matching process. Okay, so if you were to have skipped directly to the form, this is where you would have landed, and you could have just filled out all this information, but it lands you in the same place. You review all of it. If you have to make any edits, you can click this edit button and add or adjust whatever you need. If you're like, actually, I need some more information, I need to come back later, you could go ahead and select save for later. That will save in your registration drafts right here. It'll save for 90 days. But if you're ready to submit it, you just click submit, create, and then you've submitted your work registration. So once you do that, it will land in your registration history as pending. As you can see right here, I've submitted my work for review by the proper team. Once it is reviewed and processed and completed, you'll see it in your completed tab with the appropriate status. And that is how you register a new work. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we are going to hop into the Q&A. Okay, so first we have Amy. I want to learn how to register a vault of song lyrics. How do I do that? What about just registering lyrics? Is that possible? So no, we are at the MLC. You're not registering lyrics here. You're registering songs. And so it's not possible to just register lyrics with us. I'm not really sure who to point you to, but we're registering songs here. Okay. Does MLC attempt to square errors with share percent claimed for multiple publishers? Example, total exceeds at 100%. All right, good question, Kevin. So if you are registering works, so first of all, you won't be able to register a work for more than 100%. So if you're like, wait a minute, these shares percentages aren't accurate, maybe this other publisher is claiming too much, then you would reach out to our support team. We can put the information in the chat again to initiate a conflict procedure where we would reach out to both parties, try to get everyone to agree to what the share percentage is and do it that way. In the future, we are going to be adding the conflicts and disputes process into the portal. It's being built, we're just not there yet. So for the meantime, reach out to support if you see that something's not looking right and you want to dispute that. Okay. If I am only performing the song and did not write, what do I do? So this is only for digital audio mechanical royalties, which is the songwriter and the publisher. So if you did not write the song and you are only the artist, you wouldn't be collecting any money for the song, the musical composition. You're only collecting royalties for the sound recording. So you wouldn't be able to collect from the MLC if you're not the songwriter. You would be collecting from your distributor, if you're with a label, from a PRO, and then probably from Sound Exchange, but not the MLC. Braxton, I signed up, just wanted to know how long verification usually takes to approve an account. Braxton, typically it just takes a couple of days. So if it takes any longer, reach out to support and they will be able to troubleshoot that for you. All right. From Wayne, can you input multiple recording artists? Yes, you can do that. That was pretty straightforward. How is this different than the PRO collecting the publishing royalties? So, Lisa, so PROs are collecting performance royalties. The MLC is collecting a different set of royalties, digital, audio, mechanical royalties. So so that's really the difference. It's just a different set of rights and a different set of monies that you're collecting. We do have a really great graphic on our website called the Digital Landscape, which kind of lays out where if your music is used on a digital platform like Spotify, Apple, Amazon, whatever, all the different avenues you can get paid and who you should collect from. So we could probably put a link in the chat to that landscape. Okay, does the MLC notify publishers if there are conflicting claims? Paul, yes. So if we get notified of a conflict, if someone reaches out and says, hey, this isn't correct, we will email all the parties involved and get the conversation started to see if there can be a resolution between the parties. By law, we can't make a determination. The parties have to come to an agreement on what the share picture should be. But yes, then the MLC will notify all parties involved in the conflict that there is one and that we need everybody to kind of agree to what the share picture should be. All right. And we are getting a lot of questions, which is really great. I do want to stress that since this webinar is for registering works, I am going to try to answer those questions first. And if we have time, I'll get to the rest of them. But another reminder that we do have an amazing support team that can help you if I'm not able to get to your question. We've got the YouTube channel. Actually, I'm going to put this slide up real quick to kind of tell you more about what's coming down the pipeline. Let me just put this up so we all can have it, just so you know what's coming. So we've got another webinar in this series of webinars. There we go. How to use the matching tool. That's on March 23rd. That's kind of the next step. So we talked about first how to use a claiming tool for works that are already in the database. You need to register your share. Today we talked about registering works. The next one in our member tool suite is how to use the matching tool. So that's on the 23rd. You'll want to do that. Again, YouTube channel. Anytime you need a refresher or you're like, how do I do that thing again? It's probably on our YouTube channel. So check that out. TheMLC.com is full of great resources in the event I'm not able to answer your question. And then again, this is a support team. We're here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central. You can call us, you can email us, you can chat us in the portal, kind of whatever flavor you'd like. All right. Great. So back to the Q&A. From Steve, if I am a co-publisher 50% and the other co-publisher has to submit their own separate registration, is that correct? No. So you should only have one work registration. So if you're co-publishing, one of you has 50%, the other one of you has 50%, somebody needs to register the work first. And then the other co-publisher can come in and use our claiming tool and claim their share to the work that already exists. The reason we don't want to create a new registration is because that could create duplicates in the system and that will just delay you getting paid. So if you have a co-publisher, one person registers a work, you register your publisher share, the other publisher should come in after you and claim their share to that work registration. Good question, Steve. Okay, Paulita asks, where can I find missing ISWC for my songs? So ISWCs, you can search. I'm going to answer this question a couple ways because I'm not sure if the ISWC is missing or if you're asking, where do I get one? So if you need to look up an ISWC or see if all works are assigned in ISWC when they're registered, I believe ASCAP is the official collection agency that assigns ISWCs in the United States. But if you need to look up an ISWC, I would Google, I can't remember the exact website, but Google ISWC net, N-E-T. And that there is an ISWC lookup that SISAC has. It's called ISWC net. I would go there and look there. Naming the artist. What if you are using a demo singer who does not want their name published as a demo singer? You don't have to put any artist. I mean, you have to put an artist name if you're going to put a recording on there. So if you only have that demo singer and they don't want their name published as the demo singer, then you may not be able to put that on the work. If you have multiple artists, then you could just leave that person off. But yeah, if you've only got the one artist, they don't want their name on the sound recording, then you won't be able to put that sound recording in. Now, that's fine. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to match that sound recording to the work. We'll still be able to use other data points to match it. You'll also be able to use our matching tool, which we'll talk about next time, to match it. But yeah, you just probably wouldn't be able to add that recording. Okay. I'm just breezing through to find some work registration ones. And once we get through all those song registration questions, I'll circle back to anything else. Okay, Joanna asks, is there a time frame on registering works? Meaning if a work was released 10 years ago, can you still register it and will royalties still be collected? Yes, you can still register those songs. If it was written 10 years ago, you should register those songs, especially if they're still being used on platforms today. Like if it's still playing on Spotify or on a digital service, then you should absolutely register them. You will be able to collect royalties from prior periods. So the MLC went into we started administering the blanket license in January of 2021. So any monies that those songs earned from January 2021 forward, you'll be able to collect retroactively on that. There is another pool of money that existed before the MLC that we're also tasked with distributing. You'll still be able to collect that money. There's it's called the Historic Unmatched Money. We send up updates on it in our monthly newsletter every month, kind of where we are. There's also information on our website about it, but that you will be able to collect. We're still processing all that data and figuring out the right people to collect. So that money is going to take a little bit longer to get to you, but you should still register your works because you can collect that money. Not to get too in the weeds on that because it's complicated. But if you're somebody who's like, wait a minute, what's the Historic Unmatched and how do I collect that? Reach out to support and we can go into more detail. I just don't want to get too in the weeds on this webinar about that. Okay. Let's see. So Lisa said, I thought you said you only collect for the publisher. Do you not collect for the songwriter? So to clarify, the publisher, we pay the publisher share. The publisher then pays the songwriter. So if you are a publisher, let's use ABKCO as an example, and I represent 40 songwriters, let's say, I, ABKCO, am responsible for registering all the works, collecting that money, and then paying the songwriters I represent. If you are a self-administered songwriter, you are the publisher. So you'll register 100% publisher share and we'll pay you directly. So it just kind of depends, but that's how that works. It's not that songwriters aren't getting paid. They'll have to get paid through the publisher, whatever that means for you. Okay. Let's see. Okay, from Michael, is it possible to register recordings that only exist on YouTube and in parentheses, live performances, for instance, that haven't been professionally recorded? So it kind of depends on, I think you're talking about YouTube, the video, like YouTube videos, not necessarily YouTube streaming, music streaming service. So we don't do audiovisual. We're not able to collect royalties for audiovisual. You'll have to collect those from somewhere else. But if you do happen to be talking about YouTube, the streaming service, the music streaming service, and you've got like a recording of a live performance, you could collect on that depending on what the live performance is. Like if you wrote the song and you performed a live version of it, then yeah, you could collect that. If you are covering the song in the live version, you're not able to collect on that. But I think you're talking about YouTube videos, and in that regard, we don't collect those royalties. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Just making sure I'm getting to all the work registration questions. All right, I think I made it through all of those, so I'm going to go back and just answer as many as I can in the time we have. I recently joined ASCAP. Do you guys work in conjunction with them? Who is the MLC? I am totally new, so excuse my question. No worries, Jose. So again, I'm going to cover this at a very high level. You can definitely use our website, use our YouTube channel, and kind of learn all about us. We do not, so the MLC, the Mechanical Licensing Collective, we're relatively new. We were born out of the passage of the Music Modernization Act in 2018. What that act established was a newly created blanket mechanical license that covers all usages on these digital service platforms. So the Spotify, Apple, Amazon. So that blank before, in order to play songs on those platforms had to individually license every song, and that wasn't scalable. It wasn't really happening. So this law kind of made it easier and made a blanket so that if your song is played anywhere on these platforms, it is covered by this license and you can collect money for it. So another thing it established was that the MLC was the sole administrator for that newly created blanket license. So we're the only collective management agency who is able to administer this license to these companies and pay out these royalties. And it's a very specific lane that we have to stay in. It's for digital audio mechanical royalties in the United States. So those are royalties that are paid from interactive streaming and digital downloads. Interactive streaming is like the experience you have on Spotify, where I get to choose what I want to play, when I want to play it, for how long, if I want to skip it, whatever. If it again is played in the United States. So it's a very specific lane we have to stay in, not because we don't want to do anything else, but because that's what the law mandates. So to answer your question, we do not work in conjunction with ASCAP, who is a PRO. They're collecting performance royalties. I highly recommend, if you didn't, definitely look at the digital music royalty landscape that we shared in the chat. That lays out who's who in this world of digital streaming and downloads, and where we fit into that. And if you have any more questions just about the MLC, again, not sound like a broken record, but definitely go to our website, go to our YouTube channel. We have a great 60-second explainer video that explains it very succinctly. And when in doubt, reach out to support. They'll be able to go into all the nitty-gritty details about it. Okay. Beth, I read that music used in a podcast is not eligible for mechanical royalties. Is that true? That is true. That's more of a sync situation. Sync being like your music is like choreographed, so to speak, to some sort of audio visual or in this case, podcast. I also think podcasts have a little bit more unique situation going on. I'm not really able to speak to music and podcasts very specifically. It's a little bit outside my area of expertise. But yeah, it's true that is beyond the scope of the MLC. Okay, from Natalie. I just assigned my publisher last year. in 2022, but my songs were out since 2019. Will my publisher be able to collect from 2019 up to date? Natalie, they will be able to, but again, it's kind of in two different buckets, so to speak. So anything from January 2021 and forward that the MLC was paying on, you'll be able to collect from the MLC once things are registered properly. Anything before that is what we would classify as likely either historic unmatched, or it's money that if it wasn't paid before and it should have been, you may have to go to a publisher or directly to a DSP. It kind of depends on what the situation is. Some of it may be in historic unmatched, though. That money we're still working on, and you will be able to get paid for that. So yes, it just kind of depends on the situation and when the song was played and the reason why you may or may not have gotten paid. So yeah, that's, again, if you need more information on the specifics of the historic unmatched, and also there is some money. There was a period of time where we had been paying a lower rate while the rates were being discussed, and now we are getting close to setting that rate, so there will be an adjustment payment for that. Again, that's pretty in the weeds for this webinar, so if you do have a lot of questions about that, either go to our website or reach out to our support team and they'll be able to walk you through that information. Okay. Jose, if I write a song and someone is interested, can I charge them for my writing services? And explain to them that ASCAP or MLC may collect royalties on my behalf for the song he or she has on their. There's a lot of ways to answer that question. Like, yes, if you're going to write a song for somebody else, you can charge them if they want to buy your song. And then if you are listed, you'll be the songwriter. So when the songs are registered, you should be listed as the songwriter, and then you can collect the appropriate royalties. There will be royalties for anybody that is the artist. So you would be the songwriter. This person may be the artist. They would collect anything related to the artist, which is for the sound recording. So distribution, anything, there are some performance royalties they would collect. So anything that the artist is entitled to, they would still collect those royalties. You would get to collect the publishing royalties, which is for the songwriter. But I would definitely, the answer to your question is, yeah, you could charge, but just understand the difference in the royalties that you'd be collecting. Publishing royalties, songwriter is what you would have. That's also laid out in that digital landscape. So that may be helpful to you as well. Okay. Is there a complete list of streaming outlets that you collect money from? There is. So it's on our website. And they'll pop it in the chat probably. It lists out all the DSPs, digital service providers, that have secured the blanket license from us, and that we collected also in their notice. It's called the notice. In their notices, it also outlines what in their service that they're paying for, because some of these companies do have multiple service offerings that may not fall under the section 115 of the MMA, but there is a full list. We'll pop that in the chat where you can find that, but yeah, there's about 48 to 50 of them. So, okay. Let's see, I'm just gonna make sure that there weren't any more work registration questions that came through. Okay, each time I submit a claim of a song found in the MLC database, I receive the following message: there's an error in your submission, please review your submission, retry. Jake, I'm gonna have you reach out to support and see if they can help walk you through it. It's a little difficult for me to troubleshoot that one without being able to see what's going on. So reach out to support and they should be able to help you out. Okay, let's see. Okay, Jake also asks, is it still important or relevant to register with HFA and MRI? Good question. So HFA and MRI offer services outside of digital audio mechanical. So for example, HFA I know does things like physical mechanical, so things you'd get paid on for CDs, vinyl, whatever. So it is important to, if you are getting paid by them for something outside of this, outside of digital audio mechanical royalties, that you do maintain those relationships. In terms of registering works, so HFA is a vendor partner to us with work registrations. So if you register at HFA, you do not also need to register at the MLC. That work will migrate into our database and vice versa. If you register at the MLC, you don't need to also register at HFA just because of that vendor relationship that we have. MRI is different. We don't have any sort of relationship with them, but you will, if you're using them for something outside of what we do, then yeah, you'll want to keep that relationship. Lawrence, we are going to do the matching tool would be the next step. We're going to do that webinar on March 23rd. So definitely be sure to join that webinar. We'll cover that one next. Okay, let's see. Patricia asks, if a YouTuber has a channel playing my song, should I dispute them? In other words, are they getting royalties for my song instead of me? Again, probably. I don't know what the specifics are of the situation. If somebody's using your song and you didn't know about it on again, this is audio visual. So if your song is being used on a video of some sort on YouTube and YouTube videos, and that's outside of the scope of the MLC, and we can't do anything about that. But if your song is being used and you didn't know it was being used, or you weren't asked for permission or had some sort of agreement set up, then it could be that nobody's collecting anything. It's just kind of hard to know, but I would definitely track that person down and say, hey, that's my song, and we need to come to some sort of agreement there. Okay. Braxton asks, so is this different from Sound Exchange? And curious how? Yes, it is. Sound Exchange is, so we are interactive streaming and digital downloads. Sound Exchange is for the performance of the sound recording, which is non-interactive streaming. That is like SiriusXM radio. So again, the digital landscape has all this laid out. That is, again, when your music is used on a platform, there's like the publishing royalties for the musical work, and then there's the sound recording, and they fall on the sound recording side of things. But it's for non-interactive streaming, again, like SiriusXM Radio, Pandora, that kind of thing. If you're the artist, you would get paid there. So, but definitely check out that landscape. It lays it all out nicely. Okay. Thank you, Braxton. Okay, from Paul, why doesn't the MLC HFA Music Reports bulk update forms all conform to the same format? Unfortunately, Paul, I can't really answer that question. I'm not familiar with MRI's bulk update form. Also equally not super familiar with HFA's. I think HFA's and the MLC's are pretty similar, but probably, I'm not really sure. I don't know why they're all different. Probably just businesses serving the needs that they have. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't really have a great answer to that one. Okay, so we made it through all of the questions. Oh, we got one more from Darcy. I joined the call late today. Will it be possible to watch a recording of this? Yes, it will be. I believe we'll send it out to anybody that registered, but also follow our YouTube channel. It'll end up on the YouTube channel as well. Okay, last call for any more questions. All right. Well, thank you all very much for joining. Lots of great questions. If you think of anything later, I didn't quite answer your question, definitely reach out to the support team. They're more than happy to help you. And we will see you on March 23rd for the matching tool.